Hello, everyone. I'm Floyd Getchell, and welcome to episode 4 of the Unspoken Narrative. Today, we're going to be talking about grief processing. If you're having any thoughts of suicide, please call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. Grief processing, in dealing with grief processing, where you've experienced a loss, the end of a relationship, or the death of a pet, death of a loved one, someone close to you. It can also be the grief of a violation. Someone's trespassed upon you. That is also another form of grief that you could be dealing with. You're going to be fine. You're not alone. Okay? You're part of a family, a team, and it could be, in the case of being violated, it could be a family member, but there are other individuals you can reach out to that can help you. You're not alone. You're going to be okay. There's always somebody you can reach to. There is a way out. If you're watching this on video through the internet, you can reach through the internet and get help. You're going to be okay. There's groups that can support you. There is a way out. Why me? Why do I get to help you? I'm a conveyance. I am not a counselor. I was a master resilience trainer in the Army. I was graduate of class 1, very first class of master resilience training that the Army did back in 2009. And I have an experience and done a lot of grief processing with people, and I quite literally wrote a booklet on it. What happened is we suffered some losses in Afghanistan in 2011. I got done talking to the crew that experienced a loss. They unfortunately lost the glue guy, the guy that held the whole platoon together, and they started to isolate, and I pulled them back together. I got done talking to all of them, got them to, we'll come to isolation in a bit, but I got them to come all back together, got them talking, and I got done. And we do something in the Army called an after action review. Anytime we do anything, I brought them back, got them all talking to each other. Anyway, I was doing my after action review, and I went to the chaplain. Me and the chaplain are pretty close, and I asked him, where's the manual for this? The Army's got manuals for everything. Where's the manual on grief processing? Is there anything on there? They don't have one. So I started writing it. I got done with a lot of research, and you're going to benefit from that research because it's all included here. Got done with a lot of the research, and a lot of it, only about 15% of us need actual counseling for grief processing, because death in the Western world, the world over, death occurs in the home. People used to die, and separation and everything like this, we used to deal with it all the time. It's only in the last 100 years we've actually removed the death process from our homes. So that's why it's a modern problem. People used to die in their homes all the time. The family would actually take the body from their house, load it in the wagon, and take it to the mortician. Morticians are a relatively recent creation in the Western world. And they don't even, the rest of the world, I've been in several developing nations, and they don't even embalm bodies. They just throw them in a box and bury them. There's no embalming like you see here in the United States and in the Western world. So it's something that's dying outside of the home, and us dealing with it and not having death occur around us. So very few people, 15% from my research, have a hard time dealing with death because it has been removed from this. But anyway, laughter is actually the best coping mechanism. And because we're expected to cry in the West, this is referred to as coping ugly. So laughter is by far the best method. You remember the fun you had, the funny times, the funny things they said, the funny incidents that occurred throughout your relationship with those individuals. My dad passed away 10 years ago now, and I just remember the funny things, and that's how I got through the relationship. I was getting ready to retire from the Army, and I planned on going hunting and fishing with my dad. He's fighting cancer at the time. And the thing, I didn't say anything to him, but in my head, as he's going in the last stages of his life, as he's fighting cancer, in my head, I'm just thinking, wow, Dad, you're really screwing up my retirement plans here. And that's how I dealt with it. I saw the macabre humor of that, and he wasn't going to be there. And then on the flip side of that, I just recently had somebody say, he wishes I wish Dad was here. And somebody pointed out, he wishes he was here too. So the flip side of that, macabre humor. In a relationship, you are going to, in the death, for lack of a better term, the finality of a relationship, you break up, you're going to have thoughts of reconciliation. You may want to go back to that. You're going to have to get a third party in there, an objective third party, to basically, is it healthy? If you're in a bad relationship and you break up for whatever reason, you're going to have a third party objectively say, hey, you're going to have somebody say, look at the relationship for what it's good. One of the things I know is my first marriage was terrible. I had 2 kids, and I had to get the heck out of there because that was a horrid relationship, very toxic. And I got out of there, and my dad actually he let me make my own decision. I got done, filed for divorce and everything, and he just said he was really proud of me. But I knew what I had to do. I could objectively look at it. I'm very lucky in that I can remove myself emotionally from some things. I've been in other relationships I couldn't emotionally remove myself from because I was struggling with depression at the time. You need that third party in a relationship to determine whether or not you need to stay in there. Connection. This is one of the things we're going to talk about, and how to maintain connections with people and remove the barriers that can impede connection and communications. We're all part of groups. Okay, we all have different circles and groups. I have numerous. I off-road. I'm part of an off-roading community. There's certain people there. I have my own children, adult children, I can talk to about a lot of things. My mom is still alive. I have a very good relationship with her. I can talk to her about certain things. But then also, these people have their own objectives as well. And so you have to find people that are removed enough, that have enough information to, because they will, like, if you're in a relationship, they will have their own objectives. They might not like your spouse or significant other for whatever reason. They may have their own objectives. People, and then the other thing, if you're a person that removed from this and you're trying to talk to this person, sometimes people are, when you're trying to help, you have to, what is your motivation when you're trying to help somebody with the grief process? Are you just trying to feel special about yourself, trying to help? We see a lot of this now where people are trying to help the underprivileged, and they're just being a pain in the rear because they think they're being objective and they're not. They're actually just being overzealous, and they're trying to feel good about themselves, trying to help these people, and they're not at all. They're just being creators of chaos. They're not being objective. They're just adding to the chaos of society. In, like, right now, honestly, we have people supporting criminals. Today's the 25th of March here in the United States, and we have people supporting criminals, and they think they're being helpful somehow in the deportation of illegal immigrants, and they're not being helpful at all. That's an extreme example, but I have relatives that think they're being helpful, and they're supporting criminal activity. Seriously, I've actually had that in my extended family. It's insane. Okay, in people trying to help, Part of the problem we have as human beings is what is called the human condition. And I recently just kind of figured all this out. The human condition, we talk about it all the time in my original degree is in anthropology. Excuse me, I started my degree in anthropology. My degree is in history, and I do a lot of research. And why my degree is in history? Because everything is history. I can study freaking everything. You read any of my novels, they have a whole gamut of research involved, and it's because everything is history. I can study everything because everything is history. But the human, in the study of ancient humans, that's what the human condition is. Why we feel, why we wander around as modern humans going, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. And it is because we have removed ourselves. We're not living as we should. We should be hunter-gatherers. And we have removed ourselves from our natural environment. Living in cities, 82% of people in North America live in urban environments, and that is incorrect. That's why when you go out and you just take a walk in the woods, or if you're lucky enough to go hunting and camping, why it feels so good, because you're back where you're supposed to be as a human. That's your natural place as a human. And that is the human condition, why we feel so removed. All right, the citations for their work. This is work done by George Bonanno, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Kubler-Ross, you should recognize that name if you know anything about the Kubler-Ross grief process or death model. Karen Rivich and Andrew Shate, Gary Sticks, and then also the United States Army Master Resilience Training Program. The Kubler-Ross model. Now, this is the model of, it's originally designed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she came up with this in the 60s. And this is for the individual, they're going through the stages of death and dealing with their own death. And she did a lot of hospice work, and I wish I'd been aware. I live in Arizona, and she established her first hospice here, to my knowledge, in Scottsdale. I know that's where she finished out her work, and she eventually passed away here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I wish I'd known that, and I would have loved to have met her. A very intelligent woman, but she figured out. Pretty sure she was a sociologist, and the steps are denial, as you're processing. This is an individual going through the process. You have denial of your own death, your anger, you bargain, depression, and then eventually acceptance. And this is an individual going through their own death, but we can also apply this to individuals going through the death of someone else, and also the grief process. And that's grief for a relationship, that's grief for someone violating, they've been violated, loss, and also for pets. And I apologize to pet owners that are trying to work through this, but people having a hard time letting go of a pet. It's a pet. I get how you guys get attached, but I'm not there with you, gang, and I apologize for that. Okay, first off, denial. Denial for an individual, a lot of people have the first step, denial in death for the individual. That is, when you're 20 years old, or even younger. First off, when you're a child, you don't have any concept of death at all. You get into your 20s, you still think you're immortal, bulletproof. And you get older, and some people just don't. They think they're going to live forever. And then people get older, they don't accept their mortality. Having been a soldier, I'm honestly amazed I'm this old. Okay, and I've had a lot of near-death experiences. I don't know if I've mentioned it in previous videos, but Mount St. Helens almost got me when it erupted. We were supposed to be there that weekend. So I was, I think, 15 years old when that occurred. May 18th, 1980. My family still calls each other. We were supposed to be there camping that weekend, and we would have died if we had gone that weekend. series of scheduling mishaps by my dad and two other uncles, and that thing would have taken out our whole lineage. Okay, so that was a starter. And anyway, then in a relationship, the denial for if you have a relationship in, oh, it can't be over, this can't be going, he can't have kicked me out, or she can't have kicked me out, she can't be doing this to me. You're going to be in denial. All right, then you work your way through it. Then you have anger when you realize, my goodness, this is happening to me. When an individual is dying, this is when they curse God and they have anger at God. In a relationship, that's the screaming and the yelling, you can't do this to me. You also have anger itself. you know what did I do to deserve this? Things like that. Okay, then the next step is bargaining. The individual, when they're dealing with death, is sort of bargaining with God. In a relationship, this is where, bargaining with the individuals in the relationship. Can't we just try to whatever? And then that's when people start losing respect for each other. I accept the cheating. Can't we just work this out? You also have, this is something that kind of stay together for the kids. If you have a crummy, toxic relationship, do you really want your kids growing up to see that that is the example of how men and women are supposed to treat each other? No, you don't want to do that. Okay, you don't want to do that to the kids. You don't want that to be an example of how adults treat each other or how a relationship works. You want your kids to see a healthy relationship. There's a joke in our family. My middle child has a fairly healthy relationship, and the joke is, how do you know how to have this? Because you never saw it. And it's just this running joke, because I have never had he never saw a healthy relationship. Growing up, I the I hung out a lot with my mom's family, and there's a lot of mental illness in my mom's family, and so I did not know what normal was supposed to look like. And so that became my pattern for female partners. So I didn't know what normal was supposed to look like, so that became my dating norms. And so I have not had really healthy relationships as an adult. And so my I'm gonna get sued here. Watch. I'm kidding. The so anyway, they don't know, or they anyway. The So the joke is that my son, having a healthy relationship, he didn't learn that pattern. But you stay in a toxic relationship, the kids are going to learn bad things. So don't stay. You get out of it for the kids. Okay. Anyway, then the outsiders that are watching someone die, the bargaining there is, my life for theirs. This isn't an instantaneous death. Part of the reason I'm doing this is I just recently had didn't know him, but I went to a memorial service because a ranger in the ranger community here has passed away recently. And I was there. I made a booklet, like I said, back in 2011 in Afghanistan about this, and I modified it. And then recently, a buddy of mine, his father passed away. So that's why this got moved to the front of the spool on the Unspoken narrative, is the grief processing. Anyway, but yeah, that's when someone's going through the stages of death. Other outsiders start bargaining on their behalf. My life for his, stuff like that. Bargaining with God is another thing. Okay, depression. Okay, for the dying person, they're going to slide into depression. Okay, once they start to understand that death is, certain. They haven't reached acceptance yet, but they understand that, yeah, they're going to die. And it's a self-grief that they've entered, and then they'll isolate themselves from others. They'll start refusing to see anybody, and self-pity, things like that. You also see that in relationships as well, and that's when, if you're an outsider to this, that's when you need to start approaching them. You need to go find them and make sure they're okay. And you'll get a lot of, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." Uh, fine acronym is effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Okay, so when someone tells you, "Oh, I'm fine," and you know they've been going through some garbage, just know that they're not, and be there for them. Okay, acceptance. The That's when the individual understands their own mortality and they just accept it, and they will actually almost enter a euphoric state. They accept that they're going to pass. They'll get right. Uh, yeah, it's fascinating to watch. I've seen it a few times with individuals, and they get good with their God as they understand that. And for others, outsiders, they'll accept the passing and celebrate the life. And that's what I want you all to understand, is to, in the grief process, is to, death happens. It happens to all of us. And to don't grieve the loss, but celebrate the life. And that's the biggest message in this whole thing, is to celebrate. Remember the happy times. Remember how awesome that individual was, if they were awesome. But remember the good times. One of the things I personally do not like is lionizing the dead. If they were a crummy human being in life, don't talk about how wonderful they were. Just tell the truth. Drives me nuts. In a relationship, if it's a relationship you're grieving, accept that it's over and move beyond it. Okay. I've had a hard time with that a few times. I've hung on to relationships long past when they were dead and gone. I'm kind of a hopeless romantic that way, and it's just one of my faults. Stupid, completely stupid. How do you bounce back from these? Resilience, resilience. Some people are born bounce back faster. They're just born with a resilience tool, and it's part of their character, or tools. It's part of their character. The resilience factors: self-awareness, self-regulation, optimism, mental agility or flexibility, strength of character, and connection to others. Okay. And the tools. I'm going to run through these. Self-awareness is an accurately identifying the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. That's of the individual. We all have what are called ego boundaries, and they are it's our self-image. Okay. They are how we maintain our image of self. I quite literally have written a novel about it. The title of the novel, Little Lies, is in reference to the little lies we tell ourselves in order to maintain what are called our ego boundaries. Self-awareness is someone who has the strength of character to have ego boundaries that are very close to the truth of their reality. All right. And it's not easy to do, but you know people that have, there's what they run around, their perception of who they are, and then the reality. And the two are very, very different. Okay. They're going to have resilience issues. Okay. Okay. Fear. Fear is something that will hold you back. And the fear is ego based too. It can be. Fear to not speak your mind. All right. Especially if you've been violated. Okay. That's another grief thing we're touching around here. The speak your mind, speak out, speak up for yourself, or speak up for others. Okay. I've had this happen a few times where I've had women come up to me, they've looped their arm into mine, and hey, just act like you're my boyfriend, act like you're my date, not a problem. And hey, buddy, what's your issue? You know, they're some guys harassing them, following them, or whatever. And I just gotten the guy to back off. It's too easy. Sometimes your fear causes you not to take a step. Okay, fear of has got you locked up. I have some extreme examples of that that are really unique, and you just take the step. Sometimes just moving. You're just so afraid of whatever is going on. Sometimes you just need to move. Take that step to move. Make a phone call. Do whatever. Uh, just go. Just take a breath and go. Self-regulation. And what that means, self-regulation of yourself, okay? The self-regulation of yourself, good one. Don't do stupid stuff, okay? What that means. And we'll get into that more later. And then listen to the voice in your head that is telling you it's stupid, all right? This is special. You're going to have, if you're dealing with grief, your emotions are going to be all over the place. And if something is stupid, going through my first divorce, I didn't listen to the voice in my head and I did some stupid stuff and it ended up costing me in the long run. Okay. It wasn't in relationship to the divorce. It was in relationship to a relationship that was developing beyond the divorce. I did some stupid stuff and it cost me. Okay. Don't do stupid stuff. Okay. We tend to have self-destructive behavior as humans, and we'll get into that in a bit. But self-regulation, I was not regulating myself and I did some stupid stuff. Okay, mindful breathing to regain control. You're dealing with fear, you're dealing with whatever, or you just mindful breathing. Just inhale, counting to 10, exhale, counting to 10. Be it fear, emotions, or whatever, you've got to maintain control. So you just want to inhale slowly and exhale slowly. And then when you're focusing on your breathing, all that clutter, emotional clutter you're dealing with, is you're going to relax and you're going to get yourself under control emotionally. And who knows, maybe some thoughts can pop into your head as you're breathing in and breathing out, and you can gain some clarity. Optimism, overcoming negativity bias. All humans have negativity bias, all right? They think negativity bias, basically looking at everything negative, is what helped us survive the last ice age, okay? 10,000 years ago. Hunt the good stuff. Hunt the good stuff is an exercise every night before you go to bed. You think of 3 things happen that were good today. Even if you had a horrendously bad day, say you had a car accident, if you walked away from the car accident, walked away from the car accident. Even if you broke your leg in the car accident, didn't die in the car accident, okay? It is not, some people get this exercise confused at being in class 1 for Master Resilience Program. Hunt the Good Stuff was taught. They started teaching it like polishing fecal matter, okay? To paraphrase the expression, that's not what this is, okay? Find something positive in a day. Like today on my list, finally did the grief processing video. That's going to be one. I actually rewrote the grief processing booklet. That's going to be another one. And then I did some other stuff today around the house. Okay. Those are going to be my 3 things. If you have a great day, and just put those on the list, and you put those on the list, there are 3 positive things. No matter what they are, you go to bed with a good attitude. You wake up, you look at the list again, you start out with a good attitude. No more, quote unquote, waking up on the wrong side of the bed. You go to bed with a good attitude, you come up with a good attitude. And if you keep this up for a period of time, 3 good things before you go to bed, you're going to have a positive attitude. You're going to turn your attitude around toward life. Okay, the next thing, put it in perspective. Things are going to come at you. You got to learn to put things in perspective. Sometimes it's just, there have been days where Thank God I'm still alive after all that happened. I've rolled two vehicles in my life. Okay. I flipped the Humvee one time, for crying out loud. I flipped a F-250 on I-10 one evening. All right. I walked away from both of them. And I know you're like, man, that's a talented guy flipping a Humvee. Hey, it was due maintenance. They wouldn't do the maintenance. And that's how you flip Humvees. If they're not doing the maintenance on them and the brakes are locking up on it, that's how you flip Humvees. So anyway, because they have the brakes, the disc brakes are on the inside. When the CVs start going out on them, they get all grabby. Touch the brakes, thing spins, run into a tree. You flip Humvees. So anyway, it was still my fault because I was going too fast. But anyway, the you got to put things in perspective. I walked away. I got a good gash on my head, but I walked away from both those accidents. Okay, put it in perspective. One of the ways, avoid catastrophizing and negativity bias. We as humans can catastrophize. We dig. Catastrophizing is you start building on, this is worse, this is worse, this is worse, it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse, this is going to happen. And we just go down these rabbit holes of how terrible things can be. How you avoid that? You go down your rabbit hole. Worst case, well, if this happens, the wheels are going to fall off the bus and all the nuns and orphans are going to die on the bus. And you run it down to where, if all the nuns and orphans are going to die, then the Catholic Church is going to collapse and it'll be the end of whatever. And that's not going to happen. Okay. Then you do the best case scenario. Well, the wheels probably aren't going to fall off the bus because I did a good walk around on there. We're going to get the nuns and orphans there. I'm going to get a giant award. Then they're going to find out that I am the best bus driver that they've ever had. They're going to recommend me for the Senate seat. I'm going to get elected to Senate. And then, a couple years later, they're going to nominate me for president because I was the best bus driver. Okay, that's absolutely ridiculous, but that's what you're supposed to do. You take the worst case scenario all the way to its ridiculous conclusion. You take the best case scenario all the way to its best case scenario. And what's the probable outcome going to be? Probable outcome is you're going to drive the bus. You did a good walk around inspection, point A to point B. You got a flat tire on the way. Big deal, because you're a competent bus driver. You already did the inspection, so everything's taken care of. You're going to call the roadside service company, and they're going to get there. They're going to fix the tire, and you're going to get the nuns and orphans to the orphanage on time where they belong. And everything is going to go fine. Okay? Put it in perspective. Share your happiness. Share your happiness. You've developed this optimistic attitude. Share your happiness. The light of one candle can light 1,000 candles, and it still does not diminish the light of that first candle, such as happiness when shared with others. Share your happiness with others. Mental agility. Okay? Share open communications. There are 8 barriers to communications. I'm going to do a deal on master resilience. What these are 8 things. I'm not going to run through them because we're running really long on this and I don't want this to run that long. These are 8 barriers to communications. They are, they're honestly, they're kind of personality defects. They're character assassination. That's when people just say this person's bad because they did one bad thing and then don't listen to anything else they say. Don't do that on people. Okay? Unless they're actually a criminal. If they're a criminal, then, or a pedophile, yeah, don't ever deal with those people. But anyway, but if they have crimes made up against them, then it's just stupid. Then people that have me, them, jumping to conclusions. Okay, gather information. Don't ever jump to conclusions. Me is people that think everything's their fault. Them. Those are people that blame other people all the time. Those can also be psychoses. Them. People can be either narcissists, psychotics, or sociopaths as well. Okay. Psychotics and sociopaths lack empathy. All right, something to think about. Forgiveness. One of the things with forgiveness is people forget to forgive themselves. Be be gracious. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to cuss here. Everybody's got their own shit, okay? Everyone has their own shit. You've got yours, I've got mine. Just be mindful that everybody has their own shit, okay? And be forgiving of that. And remember to forgive yourself, okay? More than anything. Jesus said it best. Let he who among you who hath no sin cast the first stone. All right? Don't run around. Don't judge other people. You don't know where they came from. You don't know their shit. And don't let them judge you. You know, we've all got our own garbage. But be forgiving. And please remember to forgive yourself. All right. I said we touch on this before. Self-medication. All right. And under self-regulation. All right. I had a very close friend of mine get drunk and commit suicide. Okay. Most veterans that commit suicide are either drunk or high when they do it. Okay. Please. Self-medication. People are, especially when they're dealing with grief or changes in life. Grief processing could be a change in life. And so please self-regulate. Don't, if you think you're going to tie one on, lock up all your guns. And don't do anything stupid. I know of another individual, a young man who got drunk one time and threw a rope over a tree. He was goofing around, and I honestly don't think I really don't think he wanted to kill himself. I think he was just drunk and goofing off, kicked over the chair and killed himself, hung himself on accident, because everybody else that was partying with him went inside. They came back out. He was hanging from the tree in the backyard, dead. He kicked the chair out from under himself. And I honestly think he was just screwing around. Okay? Don't watch your if you don't watch the self-medication and if somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, you're self-medicating," that needs to be a trigger word for you to go, "My God, I need some help." I've been sober for 36 years. I'm not bragging. I know I need help. I know I'm screwed up. But in that time, I'm able to sit here and hopefully help some of you. Okay? Paying it forward here. Okay, this is the huge part in your grief process. Someone passes away. This has been huge for me. Honor their memory. In honoring their memory, this is how a huge part of the grief process. What do? How do you get through your grief process? Honor their memory. I had Clint, first tour in Iraq, 05-06. Clint was stop loss. That means he had enlisted in the Army for, I think, for 4 years. He was supposed to get out, and stop loss guys, if they're getting out part of the way through your tour overseas, they have to stay until the tour is over. Clint's stop loss. Clint got killed, roadside bomb, and he died. And Clint and I had plans to go hunting when we got back. Clint was a great guy, and that was a hard one to take. And so I kept that promise, and I went hunting with him, or with him. I went hunting, and every step when I was hunting was like a prayer, and I honored his memory by going hunting, and I thought about him the whole time. I was out hunting. It was an amazing spiritual experience for me. And it was just incredible. You keep those promises. You take that trip. You, if you, another example of that, my brother passed away when he was 18. My dad had quit smoking as a promise to him. My dad kept that promise to my brother. He did not smoke until my dad passed away years later. Never smoked again. He kept that promise. You keep those promises you make. You honor their memory. You take the trip. If you guys were going to go do something together, you go do that. You keep those promises. You do whatever that you said to that individual. You go do that. And that's how you honor that memory, and it'll help you in your grieving process. The memorial service. This was a hard one for me because I've seen people dressed up in clothes at the memorial service they would never wear. I've seen things done at memorial services that would just piss the individual off to no ends, okay? You gotta remember the memorial services for the living, all right? It's for the people that are still there, all right? The person the is being honored is gone. They may be there in spirit, trust me, all right? They may be there in spirit, but it's for those that are still there. If you need help, get help. If you need counseling, get counseling. Only about 15% of people need to cry. Forcing the other 85% to cry is actually psychologically damaging. If you're one of those people that likes to guilt people into crying, just don't. That's awful. You're an awful person if you get off on getting people to cry. Don't do it. It's wrong. Okay? It's psychologically damaging. Don't do it. I've had people guilt me into crying. Don't do it. Okay? It's just wrong. All right? People don't need to cry. People used to die in their homes all the time. Okay? We're used to it. Anyway, if you need help, suicide prevention line, again, the hotline is 988. All right? I hope this has helped you guys somehow, and I hope you enjoyed the talking head video here. Yeah, all the information I'm going to throw on the tagline on the page, and points of references, the resilience training. I'm going to throw the core reference book on there. Karen and Rivich's book and Alex's book is outstanding. 7 Keys to Resilience. Anyway, that's all I have for you. I hope this helps you all out, and have a wonderful life.